And I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic that that we have important issues to talk about for the future of a country, and you're talking about a $50,000 scholarship.
You know, when you have a really good friend who's going up against somebody that you absolutely despise in a fight, and you're there, and you've got courtside seats, you know, between Mehdi Hassan and Vivek Ramaswamy, who I'm rooting for. And for me, this is the first time I'm seeing them go at it. So let's jump in.
Vivek Ramaswamy, thank you so much for coming on the show today. You and I both grew up as kids of Indian immigrants who loved to debate, super confident, perhaps overconfident in our views. But here's the difference. I kind of know my limits. You, on the other hand, having never held or even run for any elected office before, be it Congress or even school board, having not voted in 3 presidential elections in a row, suddenly now want to be president, go straight for the top job on planet Earth. Your critics would say that's the epitome of tech bro arrogance. What is your response to them? I get that you're an
The idea that he says that he knows his limits when he has a book out called How to Win Any Debate is kind of funny.
Outsider. Personally, I like outsiders. But what have you done that even qualifies you to be president of the United States?
So look, Medhi, I have been taking on bureaucracies my entire life. I took on the bureaucracy of big pharma starting in my late 20s, at a time when I think pharma was corrupt and going in a lot of directions that they shouldn't have been. I actually built a multi-billion-dollar business developing medicines that pharma had abandoned. I took on the ESG bureaucracy, competing with firms like BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard to build a successful firm called Strive. Yes, none of that is in government, but it is in the private sector. It involves taking on bureaucracies.
Okay.
And that exactly is my mission here, is taking on the biggest bureaucracy of all, that in the federal government in Washington, D.C. And the other thing I'll add to that, Medhi, is it's not just the outsider pitch. I think we do need an outsider. I think it's good to have a business background. But I'm also an outsider who deeply understands the law and the Constitution in this country. And I think that's the unique combination that actually makes this my calling. And I hope that we're going to be successful in reviving this country.
You can know that is for sure, because he can rattle off court cases and precedents and the Constitution like that. He's the man.
So you talk about your business background. Let's talk about that. You made your name and made a lot of your early big money from pushing an Alzheimer's drug that had already failed 4 clinical trials when you bought it. You then talked it up on CNBC. Investors like the California State Teachers Pension Fund lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. But you cashed out beforehand via your parent company to the tune of, I believe, over $37 million. Your critics say it's a classic pump and dump scheme. What do you say to them?
Yeah, Medhi, that's the standard opposition research during politics reading line. Anybody in the biotech industry knows this story very well. 99.7% of Alzheimer's drugs have failed. That's thousands of drugs. Mine was one of them. But the company I founded, Roivant, developed a range of medicines. And the way I made my money was not through the failure of that Alzheimer's drug. This is one of the pieces of misinformation from opposition research. I could have sold shares in that subsidiary Alzheimer's company, but didn't. So the person who was hurt by that was me.
Hold on. But you say this a lot, but you did sell shares in Roivant, and you made $37 million.
And Medhi,
$37 million.
Medhi, I think you owe it to your audience. Medhi, I think you owe it to your audience to be accurate. That is shares in a different company, not Axovant. And those shares that I sold are.
Yes, I have to explain some of this because Medhi is about to jump in and decry everything that he stated. Vivek held on to his shares, and they were in the parent company of Roivant. And yes, they did sell shares in each individual drug that was being developed. And as Vivek said, 99.7, 99.9, whatever he said, of Alzheimer's drugs go the way of the graveyard. And there has not been many successes in that industry. And yeah, that company did lose a dramatic amount, but he wrote it down he did not sell his shares ahead of the news. And he could have cashed out for a lot, but he kept his shares. And the way that the left is framing it is that, oh my God, the poor Teachers Association of California lost money, but you made money. It's just untrue.
And those shares are worth dramatically more today. So I would have made more money had I held on to those shares. So don't believe what the opposition research purveys through the media.
It's not opposition research. We looked at your tax returns, which you very kindly have released.
Yeah, exactly.
And you made
voluntarily released Because I want to be transparent.
You made 300 grand in 2014 on capital gains. In 2015, after the IPO of this AXA van, you made $37 million in capital gains. Yet others didn't make that kind of money.
After Medhi, give me a break. After Roivant, the multi-billion-dollar business that developed 40-plus medicines, yes, I sold shares in that. And that business, if I may actually allow you to know how I made my money, developed 5 FDA-approved therapies that are now FDA-approved today.
After you sold
one of them is a life-saving therapy
FDA
in kids.
When you were CEO,
Another one,
were
they were FDA. Actually, over the time that I developed them, we took them all the way through phase 3, and then we did a $3 billion deal that actually
they were approved a year and a half later after you sold the company.
Yes, so Medhi, I'm not going to.
What difference does that make? He was the CEO that was shepherding the drugs through the FDA, and you get to level 3, and that is a significant step that propels the stock price forward. So it makes no difference whether or not they were approved. That's why the stock price increased after he sold it. It is so disingenuous of Mehdi Hassan to frame it in this way, but he's doing so because he is opposition. And this is what I'm saying, that this is not a news show. This is this is MSDNC.
Yeah, I'm not going to fault you for not knowing the first thing about biotech because that's not your job. But getting through phase 3 is the final stage of clinical testing before you hand in the application. Yes, my company did a $3 billion deal that actually did make money for those shareholders. And so, yes, I have built Roivant's a publicly traded company, nearly $10 billion public company today that I built as the sole founder from scratch as one of several companies that I've built. So, yes, I have a business record.
Before Medhi finishes his question of do you regret, let's just give Vivek a round of applause for the fact that he actually created something. This man is trying to tear down the creator, the same way that Antifa or these radicals on the left are trying to tear down America and that which other people built, whether it's a statue of Thomas Jefferson or anything that is the American ideal, from the physical to the metaphysical. That's what these people are trying to tear down. So good on Vivek for actually building something
that I'm proud of and will equip me to lead this country.
You mentioned stage 3 trials. The Alzheimer's drug failed it.
Yes.
After you did a lot of touting of it. You say 99.7% failed. You never said that at the time. Do you have any regrets about how you hyped that drug?
I did say that.
CEO of Roivant said this week that you hyped the drug. Do you regret hyping it?
Look at the way that he's framing it. Everything is how you hype that drug. That is the presupposition that he was hyping the drug that he wants his audience to take away.
We did not hype the drug. To the contrary, actually, one of the things that I found
this week.
Well, I can't speak for what is or isn't. I haven't read any article that you're quoting, so I don't exactly know what you're referring to. The fact of the matter is, though, I have been transparent at every step of the way. Everyone who is in the biotech industry knows that Alzheimer's disease is the graveyard for medicines. But I still think it's an important area of need. And I'll say this, Medhi, is, you know what? If I serve for 2 terms, I'm still going to be in my 40s when I leave the White House. It is a personal passion of mine to come back and see if Alzheimer's disease hasn't been cured. I do want to play.
It is so telling, the fact that Mehdi Hassan is not asking about the successes. He's asking about the one that somehow didn't succeed. And if you take a look at Roivant and the percentage of drugs that they had approved by the FDA, it is amazing because it defies the probabilities. It is an outlier. A statistical outlier is Roivant, but they want to concentrate on the one drug that didn't succeed.
A role in still delivering treatments and cures for that disease. And people who don't take risks, don't achieve meaningful impact. The medicines that I did develop, I'm proud of. And you don't get there without having a number of medicines that you test along the way. And the other thing I will say is our success rate under my watch was higher than probably nearly 99.9% of biotech startups in the last decade. So, yeah, I stand by that record. I'm not afraid of taking risks. That's part of the American spirit, and I stand by it.
I did not know that he was going to say this. I just have heard him talk before. I have researched it, and that's why I interjected.
We're a year and a half after you sold the company, but we'll get bogged down. Let's talk politics.
Okay, let's not give him any credit for being the founder and creating it. Again, I just want to bring into your notion, the framing of Mehdi Hassan and how this is MSDNC, not MSNBC.
Medhi, that's dead wrong. And I would sorry to say you're embarrassing yourself in front of anybody who knows anything about biotech for knowing that phase 3 trials are the final stage.
Okay.
The final stage, the FDA phase 3 studies succeeded. So you're barking up the wrong tree, but we can continue to move on.
Let's talk politics. Let's talk politics. We do. We want to talk lots of stuff.
Sure.
You're an advocate, your critics say, of fantasy politics, of magical thinking. They say you propose stuff that can't be done. For example, you said on Meet the Press the other week that if you had been in Mike Pence's place on January the 6th, you would have insisted on first passing a bill that night to bring in single-day voting on Election Day with paper ballots.
That's inaccurate.
Government-issued
I never
ID.
said that night. I never said that night.
You what you would have done on January the 6th, and you said I would have done this. And
I said what I would have done differently is that I was precise about the period between, and this is still ambitious, I will admit, but at least let's get my view correct. It is ambitious. Between November 4th and January 6th, I think it was an opportunity for heroism.
Just to be clear, you never said anything about
said it every step.
Let's play the clip. Guys, do we have the clip?
I've said this in countless forums.
Does anybody like Mehdi Hassan? Is this a good faith interview? Leave it in the comment section what you guys think. Is this a good faith interview? I mean, you wouldn't expect one from MSDNC, but yeah, let me know.
Have a listen to the clip.
On your Chuck Todd splice script, in all of my written statements and everything I've said,
hold on, we're playing the clip right
in
now.
That period between the election. Here's what I would have said. We need single-day voting on Election Day. We need paper ballots, and we need government-issued ID matching the voter file. And if we achieve that, then we have achieved victory, and we should not have any further complaint about election integrity.
So what would
I would
you
have
have
driven
done
it through the Senate?
So what would you have done with Mike Pence? You would have not certified the election?
So in my capacity as president of the Senate, I would have led through that level of reform. Then on that condition, certified the election results, served it up to the president, President Trump, then to sign that into law, and on January 7th, declared the re-election campaign pursuant to a free and fair election.
Okay, guys, let me know. Where in the world did he say that it would only be on January 6th that this would take place? He's saying that it's November 4th. Again, they're taking things out of context and trying to present the case to you that this is what he meant. And it's the same thing that they did with the fine people hoax, because Trump immediately, after saying fine people of both sides, said, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis or the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. This is just dishonest reporting.
Vivek, not only do you not mention anything about November, but let's say you did do November. That joint session was not a legislative session. The vice president doesn't have the power to introduce legislation. Neither party would have backed such a bill.
Oh, come on,
and it couldn't have been passed in a day.
The fact of the matter is,
naive stuff. The
president, the president and vice president absolutely drive legislation through Congress. That is exactly how things work.
But Trump wasn't doing legislation.
Now,
he was busy pushing the big lie, as you pointed out yourself.
The big lie. Again, note the framing. They're borrowing this from the Nazi Party. The big lie. That's what they want everybody to associate with election fraud, election interference, potential, whatever it might be. But that is, again, the framing that they have of it, and it is so powerful because it gets embedded into people's minds the more times that they repeat it. Mehdi Hassan, MSNBC, are like the Nazi propagandist Joseph Goebbels. They're just taking a page right out of his playbook. And yeah, I do think that they're fascists, just like them.
In your books.
Well,
so he wasn't
and
there.
I wasn't
Mike
the vice
Pence
president of the United States.
Passed a bill,
and I was not the vice president of the United States.
Mike Pence.
You guys in the media, you guys in the MSNBC crack me up to sort of create a hypothetical situation to say, if you had been vice president, what would you have been doing? I'm telling you exactly what I've been doing, but you're saying, but that's not what Donald Trump was doing. This is a joke. Let's actually have a substantive conversation. Do you want to have a substantive conversation about what should have happened, or do you want to play a game of gotcha? Because you have the choice. The choice is yours. Do you actually want to have a substantive conversation? If you do, I'm down to do it. Do you want a substantive conversation? What we need.
You said substantive full time.
Actually, if you want to get a word in, you know, if you're going to speak the truth and ask a
it's very difficult to listen to him because Mehdi Hassan is continually interrupting. And I know that you don't need your guest to go on forever and ever, but you have to give the man a chance to respond. He's just badgering him. They're trying to get him to react. And Vivek is about as heated as I've seen him, even though it's calm on the exterior. Inside, you can tell that there's a little bit of a slow boil there, growing a little bit more rapid now.
Legitimate question. Have at it.
I think
Let's
it is a legitimate question.
Multiple
people wondered about your knowledge of how Congress works, suggesting Mike Pence, by the way, on the debate stage, asked you if you would have supported what he did. It's not an MSNBC question. It's a Republican vice president question.
Yes.
So fine, you don't want to answer
it. And what I'm
you
saying is
it was
a missed opportunity for heroism, not in one day, but I think that in a period of 2 months. And I think you're a smart guy.
It couldn't have been done in a lame duck.
You're a smart guy means be quiet. let me talk. It's a way of gaining back to the center and then saying, let me talk. You're a smart guy, so you're going to have to listen to what I'm going to say next. But of course, the dumb guy interrupts. I do not like Mehdi Hassan. I think I've made that rather clear.
American
You're
confidence.
a smart guy. It couldn't have been done in 2 months.
I think under extraordinary circumstances, in extraordinary times, we have an American Confidence in Elections Act. It's literally making its way through Congress now. ACE. I support it. I think if we had gotten that done during that window, further we said single day voting on election day as a national holiday.
It doesn't matter because you're asking him what he would have done, and now you're stating that his idea would never have passed. But again, you're just not letting him talk because you're saying, well, your idea is stupid, so why even go there? But tell me about your idea first.
And Mitch McConnell wouldn't have agreed to a national holiday.
Democrats should agree to it.
We can argue forever.
I think Democrats should agree to it.
That's a different
argument.
That's what I stand for.
I think we're still going to get that done when I'm the president.
Okay.
When I'm the president. Not in some fantasy land where I was vice president in some other year in the historical history.
Let's talk about you as president.
What I'm running for,
Understood.
This is what we're going to do.
Let me ask a question so we don't run out of time. Please don't filibuster. I just want to ask a question about when you're president, you said this is your words, quote, if you want to stay out of no-win wars and make America stronger at home, I know how to get that done. Genuine question, Vivek, not a gotcha. How?
Maybe he can just imitate exactly what Donald Trump did, because for 4 years, we had no new wars. We had peace, much more peace around the world than we had under any other president of the 21st century.
How do you know how to get that done? With respect, you've literally never done anything like that in your life. I could go out on the street outside the studio, grab someone. They have as much experience as you do.
But what they don't have is a 165 IQ.
Keeping us out of foreign wars. That's not an insult. That's just a statement of fact.
No, it's not an insult. It's a fact, right? And it is also a fact that everybody else who does have experience in the foreign policy establishment has been sending us into no-win wars for a long time. Both of those are facts. Here's how I would do it. Let's get specific, and I'm glad we've finally gotten to the doorstep of actually discussing a policy agenda. Here's what I would do. Pull Russia apart in its military alliance with China. Those two countries are in a military treaty dating back to 2001. That is the single greatest threat that the United States faces. So I would end the Ukraine war on terms that, yes, allow Ukraine to at least come out with its sovereignty intact, which may not even be the track they're on right now. But in return, and also make a commitment that NATO will not admit Ukraine to NATO. In conjunction, and by the way, for people in the foreign policy establishment, they forgot that Gorbachev was made that promise by James Baker in the United States in 1990. So keep our word there. But in return, actually make a hard requirement that Vladimir Putin exit his military alliance with China and remove his Russian military presence.
You see, Vivek is unable to reach the MSNBC viewer who otherwise would have very little contact with his policies that he wants to enact because, again, this gentleman here, and I put that in quotes, continues to interrupt.
From the West. That's the deal that I would do.
Again, the fantasy land is why would Putin just agree with you? Why? Because you asked nicely, Putin will hold his word. He'll pocket your concessions and not just carry on dealing with his biggest trading partner, China?
Well, here's the thing. I actually think that China shouldn't be his biggest trading partner. I think it's a mistake that we've closed off economic relations with Russia.
And just for the record, the Biden administration blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, one of the greatest environmental disasters of all time, and is now robbing our ally Germany of the natural gas that they need for their manufacturing and for their industry in general and staying warm in the winter. What the Biden administration did was hardball for Russia, but they are unleashing massive CO2 emissions for this administration that claims to be so green, as well as the fact that you are losing an ally because now the Germans are going to be on the rocks in the near future.
I would lead both the United States and the West to reopen economic relations with Russia because Putin does not enjoy being Xi Jinping's little brother. Mehdi, you're a smart guy. Look at what he's done. He's actually sent weapons to both India and Vietnam right after the February 2022 meeting he had with Xi Jinping. There are cracks in that armor, but we need to actually open our eyes to see the opportunity staring us in the face.
We will have to agree to disagree whether we think that you can persuade Vladimir Putin to drop his alliance with Xi Jinping. You have made truth the centerpiece of your campaign. So let's talk about your trustworthiness.
Yes.
For example, when CNN quoted you talking to The Atlantic about 9/11 and federal agents possibly being on the planes, you said the quote is wrong, actually. But the quote wasn't wrong. The Atlantic released the audio of what you saying exactly what they said you said.
Mehdi,
hold on, let me finish the question.
Let me be crystal clear.
Let me finish the question.
The Atlantic should release the whole tape. They've refused to do it. Yep.
You said on Twitter Spaces last month that no, you had never supported Bernie Sanders' masks for all legislation, but you...
It's the same thing again with the fine people hoax, that you take one piece of it and you say that Trump did say fine people on both sides. Yeah, he did say that and immediately negated that.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
I am so disgusted by the way that they Rupar this, which is named after Aaron Rupar, where you just take something out of context and then try to get the public to believe, and it gets embedded into their mind that this is actually what was stated, when it goes very much against the overall meaning of what the people that they're trying to misframe actually meant.
You literally put out a tweet in July of 2020 calling it a sensible idea. You also said not once but twice in June and July that the first time you'd ever voted was in 2020 for Trump, but in fact the first time you voted for president was in 2004 for a pro-choice libertarian candidate. How can people believe what you say?
So, Medhi, let me just go through one by one. The Atlantic, yes, purposefully spliced an out-of-context quote where we have challenged them. They released the tapes. We asked them for the tapes first. They didn't give them to us. They waited then to splice them and release them publicly. I challenged the Atlantic to release that entire conversation. And what was a conversation about how many federal agents were in the field.
You said was wrong. We all heard it. We can play it if you like. No, it is exactly word for word what she quoted to you.
Donald Trump, did you say that there were fine people on both sides? No. Well, we've got the quote right here. Yeah, but that's out of context, and immediately I contradict that. It's the same thing if I tell somebody who throws me a surprise party, oh my God, I'm going to kill you guys. And the media reports that Rich said that he's going to kill the surprise party throwers. It's completely out of context after immediately afterwards state, I love you guys. You see?
You said they put words in your mouth.
Look, if you want... If you want hard facts, here are hard facts. That day, the Atlantic printed it. I said, that looks like something that never captured the character of our conversation. Can you ask Atlantic for the tapes? They said they would refuse to release the recording to us. So when Caitlin asked me about it, I said, that does not at all sound like the context of what I said. And then, it turns out the Atlantic releases a very, everybody should listen to it.
You're putting words in my mouth.
It functionally sends the wrong message, Medhi.
Oh, functionally. Okay. You could have said it's out of context.
It was so badly taken out of context that it misled them.
Yeah, because the leftist media never, ever does this, do they?
Their audience. It was so badly taken out of context. It was basically a lie, and it misled their audience. But ask the Atlantic to release it. So my view here is,
the lie
here's
is
what I've learned,
you said
the
words
media
that we all
distortion
heard you say on
filters.
You see, right there, he got angry. You could see it in the micro expressions on his face with his reaction overall. He's angry. And goodness gracious, I hope he doesn't flip out, because I probably would at that point.
Medhi, if they are going to cut something before and after without the question of what the guy is that came beforehand, come on, why wouldn't the Atlantic? Why are they so reluctant to release the whole recording?
Maybe
ask
because the audio they released, you're still denying you said what's on the audio. Okay, let's ask you this question. Is Donald Trump,
it's a
as
joke
you say now,
that the media is going to selectively edit this, and this is the way this game is played. Politics is dirty, that's okay, I'm ready for it. It's not edited,
just to be clear.
He has scorn for Mehdi Hassan. He has disgust for the man. But we all should. It's deserved.
Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century?
Of the 21st century. Yes,
he was. Let me ask my question. Let me finish the question. Is Donald Trump, as you say now, the best president of the 21st century, who you say you want as an advisor and a mentor if you become president? Or is Trump, as you've said in the past, in your books, on Twitter, a, quote, sore loser who is a, quote, danger to democracy and who did, quote, downright abhorrent and egregious things on January the 6th? Which one is he, Vivek?
So to be crystal clear, between George Bush, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and Donald Trump, those are the presidents of the 21st century. Donald Trump is unambiguously,
I think that everybody should concur, but most people won't.
Judged by the results, the best president of the 21st century. Kept us out of wars, grew the economy. I give him full credit for that. I want to build on that foundation and take this country to the next level.
But you've also called him a sore loser who is a danger to democracy. Those are strong words.
Would I have made the same judgments that he has made at every step of the way? No. I will remind you that I am running for U.S. president because I am best.
Why are they continuing to talk about Trump? Don't viewers want to know what Vivek is going to do for the country? This is why I can't stand these shows like this that don't talk about substantive things. They talk about the little microcosm of the words and go over them and rake them over the coals. It's unappealing.
It's very vague about this.
To lead this country forward.
Can I ask you what they are, Vivek?
Yes.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy.
Yes.
What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you... That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on was that condoning what Trump did, my answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need to
my
be
question.
able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do?
No,
you see, they have to ask this question and get him to answer it. And I don't blame Vivek if he doesn't want to. But they need that because it's the raw meat that they throw to the MSDNC viewer.
Not avoiding
in your view, that was downright abhorrent. Second time
I think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is
Vivek,
I would have
respect.
declared re-election on January 7th.
I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement.
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No,
I would not,
unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you you're stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't want to have an actual conversation because he wants to litigate Trump because that's all the viewers want. This is how they get their viewership. Litigate Trump. Orange man bad. The boogeyman cometh. Oh my God, Donald Trump, who we didn't have any wars under, who was good for the economy. And he's made some mean tweets and he told you that oh my God, he lied so bad. He said that there were more people at his inauguration than there actually were. He doubled it. Meanwhile, Joe Biden lies about everything, including the Fine People hoax, and got us into war in Ukraine and took us out of Afghanistan with giving the Taliban billions of dollars in weapons. Why don't you ask Joe Biden that?
You'd answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it. What did Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media
your words.
and the...
You're not going to get an answer to your question, Medhi. And Vivek is right not to give it to you because you people are abhorrent and you do not come at it with good faith.
Well, the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, the reason I have been so vocal is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand your objections to the litigation.
I would have made different judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I
understand. That is a distinction we have to draw.
Understood. You say you are anti-identity politics, anti-affirmative action in a party that hates the Soros name, yet you accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship. And your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship, you take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now, $50,000
you said exactly useful.
Who leaves free money on the table? You're 24 years old. You have no idea about your political future. And somebody is offering you a $50,000 scholarship. Even if you have some money, leave free money on the table? Is that stupid? Is that what you're raking him over the coals over now for? Okay, it was given out by George Soros' brother Paul. What am I going to do? It's a no strings attached merit scholarship. I'm going to take it. $50,000. That's a lot of money.
Have the money, Vivek. You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
So, Medhi, I've made this really easy for everybody. And I did this in the early weeks of the campaign.
Yeah.
I released 20 years of tax returns.
Yes, you did.
Something that no presidential candidate, let alone somebody who's successful in business, has done. I challenge Democrats and Republicans alike, including the Biden family, to do it.
And you
know what? I released it so that you could look at them, so we can have an honest conversation.
Much. And I appreciate that.
The funny thing I've learned,
I do appreciate that. It's something Trump should learn from you.
I think that transparency is important.
Look,
it's already open and everybody can see it.
Exactly. We have 2009.
But the fact of the matter is, you know what I would advise every 24-year-old should take
2009 and 2010. You made $750,000. You had the money to pay for law school. You didn't need a Soros affirmative action scholarship that you now criticize.
I mean, none of this is worthy, but if you think it is, let's get to the detail. That was actually the first big piece of money.
You say you're anti-affirmative action. You took a scholarship for immigrants.
I'm anti-affirmative action.
So why did you take a scholarship for the children of immigrants?
You don't leave free money on the table if you're a good businessman. Simple answer.
Which falsehood would you like me to address? The financial one or the one about my views on affirmative action? Because I can go in whichever order you'd like.
Did you not make $750,000?
On the financial piece of it. Not at the time that I had applied for the scholarship that fall.
Yes, you did.
That December.
Yes, you did, Vivek.
You know what? A year consists of 12 months. If he applied for the scholarship in September and then in December he had a big payday, at the time that he applied, he had not made the money, MSNDNC.
This is awkward for you because you did. I've got the tax returns in front of my face.
No, it's not awkward for you. Yes, on December 31st, when the application for the scholarship was that October. Medhi, you're wasting your time on childish details in October of that year when I applied for that scholarship. And it was, well, guess what? The bonuses that a hedge fund pays, and it's a shame that, again, you don't have to be an expert on this, but if you're going to spout out, you better know something about it. People pay at a hedge fund the bonuses at the end of a year, and on December 31st, that's when I was paid. I applied for the scholarship that September, and I did not grow up in a wealthy family.
Vivek, you made more money the previous year.
I made $200,000 pre-tax or whatever it was.
No, you didn't.
And you know what?
Hold on. No, you didn't. You're now telling flat. In 2009,
you have my tax returns in front of you. I don't remember what I made in 2009.
In 2009, you made $650,000. In 2010, you made less, $450,000. So the argument that you only made the money pre the scholarship, Oh, so now we're bringing tax into it. We've been using gross numbers.
Absolutely.
Vivek, you're wrong on this. Go back and check your tax returns.
$50,000 obviously makes a big difference.
And then you accepted a Soros scholarship for $50,000 when you didn't need it.
Does anybody out there, just leave a comment, do you like Mehdi Hassan at this point, or do you think that he's a tool? Obviously, you know how I feel, but let me know if somebody has a different thought process on this.
Well, you know what the fact is, Medhi, is $50,000 did make a big difference to me back then. And anybody who has a few $100,000 in the bank is going to take $50,000 without strings attached. Take the scholarship. But my question for you is, why on earth are you, as an intelligent person interested in politics, obsessing over a 24-year-old's $50,000 scholarship?
I'm interested in truth,
beneath you. We have a country to fix.
That you wear. And I'm interested in truth.
And Medhi, that's why I released 20 years. Medhi, that is why I released 20 years of.
You're interested in truth that suits the narrative that you want your viewers to take away because you are paid by the CIA to denigrate anybody that could be threatening to the deep state, because you're a leftist, because you want to usher in communism into the United States, which they are very close to doing at this point, I'm afraid to say.
Tax records. Tell your friends in the Biden administration to do the same thing. Tell your Democrat candidates to do the same thing.
We've gone over time.
We're breaking precedents, and I think it is pathetic. I just think it is sad and pathetic that we have important issues to talk about for the future of a country, and you're talking about a $50,000 scholarship in 2010 to go to Yale Law School when I was 24.
If you just owned it,
this is pathetic, and this is why nobody trusts you guys.
Nobody does trust them because of this exactly, because they're not after what is best for the country. They're trying to tear somebody down, somebody who creates. Mehdi Hassan is the biggest liar, or one of them, on TV. He is like a designated Democrat liar, and he's just sitting there trying to tear down Vivek, because that's his job. What a horrible job. I would kill myself.
It is pathetic in your view, but, you paid a Wikipedia editor who then removed it. So clearly it's something you didn't want people to read about. Last question, because we've gone over time and I respect you.
Who also said I was born in India. Who also said I was born in India and misspelled and got my wife's name wrong. So, yes, we actually need to correct facts when people are playing this game.
Last question. You want me to ask a substantive question? Here's what I worry about most. Democracy in this country.
I would love substantive questions.
Not just under Donald Trump.
After 22 minutes, he's going to ask the substantive question. There was one other about Russia.
Yeah.
Last question for you. Not just under Donald Trump, but under you, people are worried about authoritarianism. You have preemptively promised to pardon Trump no matter what juries of his peers decide, as well as today extending those pardons to January 6 rioters. You've dismissed white supremacists as boogeymen and unicorns. You want to fire at least half the federal government workforce. That's over 1 million people. You want to remove the right to vote from 18 to 25-year-olds. That's over 30 million people. You want to get rid of birthright citizenship. In fact, you refer to voting and citizenship as privileges when they are, in my view and in the Constitution view, rights. It's a very anti-democratic worldview. What do you say to people who criticize you for that?
I don't think it's an anti-democratic worldview. I favor reviving the lifeblood of our constitutional republic. Revive actual free speech and open debate in this country. Revive civic duty in this country, something that our founding fathers envisioned. Revive true equality in front of the law, where people aren't prosecuted because of the color of their skin or because of the content of their political views. One standard of the rule of law for everybody. I stand for the founding vision of the country where the people who we elect to run the government ought to be the ones who actually run the government, when in fact most policymaking functions in D.C. are performed by federal bureaucrats. So yes, my standard is, would Alexander Hamilton and John James and Thomas Jefferson and George Washington, would they be proud of what they see today, or would they be appalled? I think if they walked around and saw Washington, D.C. today, they would be appalled. By the time I leave office in January 2033 after 2 terms, they will once again be proud of what we've created, a government with 3 co-equal branches, not 4, shutting down that administrative state, reviving civic duty, and reviving one standard of the rule of law for all Americans. And that is not a Democratic vision or a Republican vision. That is a pro-American vision that I think can actually reunite this country, which is what I believe I will uniquely be able to deliver as the next president.
Vivek Ramaswamy, we will have to leave it there. Appreciate you coming on the show, taking my questions, even if you didn't like all of them. Appreciate you taking time out from a busy campaign.
Thank you. Look forward to discussing more of the agenda in the future.
Next time, definitely.
No, not next time, definitely, because they're going to give him more of the same. They're just going to go after him, character assassinate him, ask him endlessly about Donald Trump rather than his policies. He's running against Trump because he thinks that he can do a better job for this country. And frankly, I do as well. Vivek is my #1 choice. And you saw there how calm he stayed, despite the fact that of the misframes that Mehdi Hassan was trying to offer and doing his best in real time to correct them. It was a hit piece by MSNDNC on Vivek, and I think that he came off really well. Let me know what you guys think in the comments section. I obviously am not a fan of Mehdi Hassan. If you think I got something wrong with that, again, leave me your thoughts and thumb up the video, subscribe, share it with friends if you think they'd enjoy it. Peace out.